Gannan, travel journalist, host of the Big Travel podcast. Hello, Lisa.
Hello there.
Hello there. What is happening then at airports? What is going on?
Well, the airport situation seems to have got a little bit better today, but what's been happening is this staffing issue because people have been off due to COVID, but also during the last 2 years of the pandemic, people have left the industry, whether they've been made redundant or left. I certainly have encountered people. I met a gardener who was actually a BA pilot, a delivery driver who was actually used to work for Virgin, and they just haven't been able to process new people to replace them quickly enough. Apparently, there's been a delay with IDs and paperwork. So with the people off with COVID, it's just been like the perfect storm, we're sort of saying in the industry at the moment, is that they haven't had enough staff. It does look a little bit better today. Things are looking a little bit better. And anyone who has had a flight cancelled should know about it by now, should have had advanced warning rather than just rocking up to the airport and hearing about it there and then, which has happened previously. But there are long queues. I've spoken to people coming through Gatwick and Luton today, and they've said it's gone quite smoothly, but there has at some point been some very long queues. So do prepare for those.
The bottom line is they're continuing to sell tickets.
Yes,
they're continuing to pull people into these airports, and then they're acknowledging they don't have enough staff. How's that fair?
Yeah, well, I think it's not very fair at all. And you think they could have prepared for it by now. But also it's a major problem for the airline because, of course, if they're cancelling flights, they have to put people on other ones if they still want to go, which might cost them money. And they also will have to compensate people at some point. So believe me, they don't want it to happen either. It's going to cost them an awful lot of money, not just cash, but also in consumer confidence. The last thing airlines need at this point, when people have just decided, they want to get back out and there is this massive appetite for travel after 2 years of completely suppressed activity. The last thing they want is this happening as well. So they are scrambling around as much as possible, trying to rectify this. And one can only hope that, obviously Easter's very busy, but they learn lessons from this and manage to get all the staff and everything they need in place as the period comes up for the next busy period towards the summer.
So what about then those people who are travelling? Can they help themselves? Is there anything they can do to game this?
Well, if your flight's cancelled, I mean, obviously that's a different thing, and they should, they should be putting you on another flight if you want to take it and if you've got that flexibility. But as a practical sense, I mean, all you can do is just leave as early as possible. But a bit like Simon Calder was saying there, if you do have people getting to the airport or even the railway station, the Eurostar terminal, as he was talking about, too early, then they're actually mingling with the other people who are going on an earlier flight. So it gets very complicated. I'm speaking to you from Spain now. I took the Eurostar to Paris and I was in the longest queue I've ever been in. It took me an hour and 15 minutes to get to passport control. And then I flew from Paris to Malaga and there were long queues there because I was flying EasyJet into Europe. And, all you can do is just leave as much time as possible.
Julia, good evening to you, Julia. Julia, why don't you tell me how to pronounce your surname so that I get it right from now on?
Lo Bue-Said, Stephen.
Lo Bue-Said. Thank you, Julia.
You're welcome.
CEO of Advantage Travel Partnership. So, look, the travel industry could lose a lot of goodwill here from customers. If they're taking our money, if they're telling us it's safe to come back, we need to be able to come back and enjoy the experience.
Absolutely. And I can tell you categorically that for the industry, it's also frustrating for us and exceptionally disappointing. I think, as Lisa said, we are starting to see things are getting better now. Unfortunately, and it is an excuse, it's the busiest weekend ever. Restrictions only eased back into the UK 4 weeks ago. So actually, from a planning point of view, it's been exceptionally difficult to try and plan ahead. Back in December, we still had Omicron. Airlines were still travelling at, we still had 70% reduction in capacity. So it's been a really difficult time to build up. However, what we are doing now is we are looking at actually where are the bottlenecks? What can we do? How can we learn? How do we improve? How do we make sure we can get people on planes, trains, etc., wherever they need to be, in a manner that ensures they can at least have a great experience and focus on the end destination as well.
So how could the industry not forward plan for this?
I think there are so many issues here, Stephen, and I think the biggest one of all is actually when when you have literally been shut down for 2 years and you are having to manage a huge cost base. I mean, the agents the companies that I represent are literally small businesses. They're on the high street and to slightly larger companies. When you're running these businesses, you actually do not have the overheads to be able to keep your staff on. It just, when you're shut down for 2 years. So unfortunately, there were a lot of redundancies, a lot of cost cutting that had to take place to make sure businesses could literally survive. As we've started to come out of pandemic, and as I said, let's not forget, there are still restrictions. The industry is not back to normal. We've only had restrictions eased here completely 4 weeks ago, so very minimal amount of time. So trying to build back and trying to get staffing back. And the staff issue there is a labour shortage, as we know anyhow. But trying to encourage staff back into an industry which is unfortunately seen as probably not the most stable of industries, not the most secure. Like Lisa, actually, I know a lot of industry folk that are now gardeners, are now working in different industries because they don't see the industry as an industry where they feel safe, they feel their jobs are secure. So there's a huge amount of work going on to try and showcase that actually, the industry is getting back. There is investment going in. We're trying to build businesses back. But trading is one thing. But these businesses, as I said, a lot of them are small businesses that I represent, are in a really difficult state because they have not traded for a couple of years now. And just on the airline side, Lisa mentioned it there, but just the other thing that everyone is having to contend with is high infection rates with COVID. So even if you have staff in place, literally, from 1 hour to the next, you have cabin crew or pilots, whoever, testing positive. That puts an incredible strain on an operation that's already under strain. So unfortunately, just lots of most of it is operational issues that are going on. But as we come out of the Easter weekend, things will start to ease off because we won't be as busy, and we'll be able to make sure that we can learn from what's happened. How do we make sure that we can, get staff into the system and they're processed quickly? There is an issue of processing people as well. So lots of factors that the industry is working really hard to try and work through.
You're going to be busy in the summer again. Is this going to happen in the summer again?
I think by the summer, we won't have a bottleneck over one weekend. As I said, literally within 4 weeks, we've had restrictions go to come back into the UK. Everything's happened very quickly. Booking trends are also changing. So we are seeing 50% of everything my members are booking is coming within 4 weeks of travel. So trying to plan for that is difficult. It will be busy over the summer. It's always used to be busy over the summer. So we can, as I said, we will learn from what's happened over the last weekend and actually how do we make sure we're in a better place to make sure customers can get as great experiences as they can.
Do you think, Lisa, do you think it's going to get any better in the summer?
Yeah, like Julia said, people will have time to prepare. And you know what I really do with it, Stephen? I really reframe it in my mind. Like this time last year, it was illegal to go on holiday. It was illegal to go on holiday. Restrictions have only just been completely lifted 4 weeks ago, like Julia said. I think I'm reframing it in my mind. I'm traveling with 2 small children and massive queues, heavy bags. It's really frustrating and difficult. But at the end of it, you have a beautiful holiday. You're allowed to see friends and family and cross borders and go to places and see people that we missed and loved. And, to me, that's absolutely everything and well worth, standing in that queue and putting up with the stress and distress that it might cause, and hopefully you will get that wonderful holiday at the end of it. And that's what you've got to do. Travel is an emotional thing, it really is. And, we are allowed to travel again and it's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, hopefully people will have the consumer confidence to book and go ahead, and by summer we'll get back to normal travel levels.